Hello, welcome in or welcome back to my channel. My name is Deb from DG Reads, and I'm here to kick off a lightning round of Procrastination Project for Escape the Readathon. It is currently April 30th, and that means that Escape the Readathon starts at 9 o'clock tonight. And I'm super excited for this readathon. It is brought to us by Lexie at Books with Lexie, and it is a month-long competitive readathon, and it is a lot of fun. We know some of the prompts going into it. There will be new prompts as we get into certain areas of the readathon, and we get to kind of drop everything and refocus where our priorities lie along the way according to whatever strategy our team comes up with. I am on Team Mediums, and we're led by Jordan at Sorry Book Solid and Jessie at Reading with Jess. And our initial team strategy is to focus on the gym and spa. Why you go on a gym on a cruise vacation? Couldn't be me, but whatever. The prompt for this one is to read a book you've been putting off, and as soon as I heard that this was a prompt, it immediately brought my Procrastination Project to my mind. And I figured, why not kick off the month doing a little bit of a quick round of a Procrastination Project to get started. If you're not familiar with my Procrastination Project, I will have the link to the playlist, but basically this is my excuse to get to some of the books on my shelves and get to some of the Libby holds that I keep putting off. When I physically own a book that has an audiobook, I tend to put a hold on that audiobook. And then the deliver later button on Libby becomes my friend. So the idea is, normally what I do is, of the top 3 Libby holds that have come in, I make myself pick one of them. This time we're going to do things a little bit differently, just because I want to be able to read while I'm out and about tomorrow and not have to worry about running out of books for this before I can get home and film a new pick. So we're going to pick 2 to start with. I think that's the goal. And I never know when the room's going to get unlocked that we're reading these books for. It could be my team will have everything done by the time I wake up tomorrow. But either way, it's a good way to get to a few of these books. And since the readathon starts at 9 o'clock my time, hopefully I'll get a good chunk of reading in before I actually go to bed tonight. Okay, I'm screen recording what I'm seeing. And since I am going to be picking 2 books, I'm going to look at the top 3 like I normally would, and then maybe I'll just scroll down a bit to hit another 3 just to kind of shake things up a little bit. So for my top 3, I've got The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England by Brandon Sanderson. I don't physically own this one, but it is one that I want to try out. I've heard mixed reviews, but it, I think, would be a fun one. And I have suspended this hold 31 times in 23 weeks, so it's definitely a book I'm putting off. I've got You Like It Darker by Stephen King. I'm kind of procrastinating this one because as of the moment, this is the last Stephen King book that I have not read yet. And it's short stories, which I don't tend to like to binge quickly, so I'm going to skip that one. And then I have The Hurricane Wars, which is another book. I've definitely procrastinated it a few times, and I've heard some mixed reviews on that one as well. I think it's the time to try The Frugal Wizard. I think that's what I'm going to do for the first one. Okay, and then let's just scroll down. Okay, we've got The Dream Daughter by Diane Chamberlain. This one I think is kind of weird, playing with time. There's some grief elements, if I'm remembering quickly. Don't remember a whole ton. I've got The Housekeeper by Joy Fielding. This one is, I believe, a thriller. And I know it says I've only suspended it 3 times. That's because I let a hold lapse and I had to put a new hold in. And then I've got The Blonde Identity by Allie Carter. This one I haven't had a hold on for quite as much time. I read this author's Christmas book, The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year, is that the title of it, in December, and enjoyed it. Didn't love it. So I decided, since I did own a physical copy of this one, I would put it on the list as well. I feel like, what do I feel like? In the interest of trying to get through a few things quickly, I think a thriller type of read and one that's less hours is probably my best way to go. So I think I'm going to go with The Housekeeper on this one. So we've got The Housekeeper for a mystery thriller, if I'm remembering correctly, and Frugal Wizard for a bit of fantasy. I think both of them should be fairly easy reads. So I'm going to go ahead and download those, and as of 9 o'clock tonight, I can get going. Happy Escape the Readathon time. The readathon is well underway, so I have started reading and I have a couple updates for you before I go to bed. I am currently a little over 40% of the way into The Housekeeper, chapter 32. And I'm not loving it, but it's a very easy read. I very quickly got to the halfway point. I read some in print. I switched to audio so I could do some crocheting, and I've gotten through it quite quickly. So so far. So in this one, we're following Jody, and she is stretched to her limit. Her mother has Parkinson's disease. Her father, with whom she has a very contentious relationship, has retired to take care of her mother, but he needs help. She's got a big baby of a husband. If you can't tell, I don't like him at all. He's horrible. And she has 2 children who are great, but they're children. They need attention. And she's also working as a real estate agent fairly high up. So she's a busy lady and she needs some help somewhere. And she decides that it's time to hire a housekeeper for her parents to help care for her mother, care for her father, take care of their house. She winds up interviewing everyone under the sun that she can find. She finds one woman who seems practically perfect in every way. She's in her 60s. She's a widow. She has a son, but he lives a distance away. And she's good with the kids. She's good with her mother. She's good with everything. And so she introduces this woman to her father, to her mother. The father's reluctant at first, but then really likes this woman, and she just seems like everyone's gift. And it all seems great at the beginning, but things keep unraveling. Her business is busy. Her husband, like I said, is a big baby. He's constantly upset with her for needing to make appointments as a real estate agent and having to ask him to take care of his own kids at times. He's a writer who had one big book success and nothing really since then, and he's very bitter about it. He teaches occasionally, and that's about it. She's really the breadwinner of the family, and he's bitter about that also. She also has a sister who drives me up the wall because her sister is just petty, and they're close, but not really. The sister is constantly cutting her down, and I feel like Jody's only real ally in the family was her mother, most likely. And the father and the sister and the husband are all constantly putting her down and making her feel bad about herself and everything else. I generally like Jody. She does make one decision I don't like, but otherwise I'm really feeling for her. And honestly, the book's kind of stressful, just in the secondhand stress I'm getting from her. And I think from that standpoint, the author's doing well at portraying what Jody's feeling and everything she's going through. As the synopsis says, and as the story's going along, we're starting to see this housekeeper, Elise, show signs she's not quite as perfect as she appears, or that she's intentionally trying to make herself look more perfect. She's seen wearing a piece of the mother's jewelry. She's very flirtatious with the father, and there's a lot of things that Jody begins to question about her, and clearly she's too perfect to be true, and there's more to uncover there. I'm not sure what the ultimate premise of this is. It's spiraling out of control at the moment where I am now, and it just seems to be getting worse and worse. I'm not sure what the ultimate is going to be. Right now, I kind of want Jody to take the kids and run and ditch the father, ditch the housekeeper, ditch the sister, ditch the husband, and go on her merry way, because she seems quite capable of handling herself if she was just on her own. But I'm not sure if that's where the author's taking it. We shall see. So that's the update on that one. The other update is I did start the Frugal Wizard's Guide to Surviving Medieval England. Is that the title of it? It's a long one. I keep messing it up. And I've decided now is not the time to read this one. First off, because it's the same narrators who do Wheel of Time. And I think I just want to finish Wheel of Time. I've got one more book to go for that before I launch into something else that these people are narrating. I just don't want that to throw me off. And there's things about this one, the gimmicks of this one, that aren't necessarily hitting for me in this moment. We have a wizard, and actually we don't necessarily have a wizard. We have a man who wakes up very foggy. He doesn't know what's going on. He finds little scraps of this guide for frugal wizards that have been burned, so he only has scraps of it, and he doesn't actually have the guide. He thinks maybe he's at an amusement park. He thinks there's something strange going on, and he's constantly rating everything. Like, he's writing reviews in his mind and how many stars he would give something and what quips he would use to go with his reviews. And it feels like it could be a fun read if I was in the right kind of mood for it, and I think that's not me right now. And then on top of that, having the narrators be narrators who I just read this morning in a different book, just throwing me off. So since I think I will definitely finish up The Housekeeper early tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and pick my next book with you before I go to bed tonight. And I know some holds have come in, so let me see. Okay, let's remember to screen record. Okay, so the options I have are The Red Garden by Alice Hoffman. I really don't know anything about this, but I have read and enjoyed Alice Hoffman in the past. There's usually something kind of witchy in my experience with Alice Hoffman. This one I think is historical, and there's something about a magical garden. Don't know anything beyond that, but it is only 7 hours, so it would be another quick read. Karen Slaughter, I have This Is Why We Lied. This is, I believe, one of the Will Trent novels, if I'm going based on what I see on the cover here. And I do enjoy Karen Slaughter, and I do enjoy Will Trent, but this is an 18-hour mystery thriller type of book, and that seems like a lot. And then my third option is If I Have to Be Haunted by Miranda's Son. This is one that I have a special edition of somewhere down here. And this one I have been waiting for 44 weeks, and I have suspended it 20 times, and it's a 12-hour audiobook. I think I'm ruling out Karen Slaughter at the moment just because of the length and the fact that I want to read these quickly. I think If I Have to Be Haunted is the one that's calling to me at the moment. So let me see if I can find it quickly. I think it probably is on the shelf down here. Let me see if I can confirm. Okay, that was actually quick. I found it right where I thought it might be. And this is a stunning, of course, very lit edition. I'm hoping this is focusing. And the sprayed edges on there are quite lovely as well. And I like this cover. It's very different than the audiobook cover, but we've got pretty character art underneath too. So this one says, Kara's just trying to stay on top of her classes, excel at extracurriculars, and prepare for college, which means not speaking to the dead, an ability she inherited from her grandmother. Ghosts are trouble, and Kara doesn't need to add their problems to her own. But she stumbles on the body of Zach, a super popular but very newly dead high school golden boy in the woods, and guess what? He wants her to resurrect him. That has me intrigued. It's a quick audiobook. It's YA. So usually that reads pretty quickly. The text is pretty well spaced apart, and I have the audiobook. So once I finish up The Housekeeper, this is next on the agenda, and we shall see how it goes. Okay, it's early the next morning, and I have indeed finished up The Housekeeper. This was, like I said, a super fast, easy binge read. I read for a while in bed before I fell asleep last night, listened to the last hour and a half or so of it this morning, and now I am ready to be getting ready for work and get out the door pretty quickly. But I did want to provide you with an update on this, and I also realized I'm going to need to pick another book, I think, before I leave for work, just to make sure I have a backup plan. So this one stayed very bingeable, very readable, but very frustrating. I realized pretty quickly I couldn't leave it on too much while I was trying to get to sleep because I just kept getting mad and tense because of everything that was happening. I will say the sister had some redeeming moments. I can see, thinking it through, why Jody didn't want to ditch her sister. I think she was just a very selfish character in a lot of ways, but at the same time, she does really love Jody also. She's just a little wrapped up in herself, let's say, and willing to kind of sacrifice anyone else around her first. But the husband remains a piece of trash. Not going to say what happens to him, but I was happy with how most things in this book wound up. There were some twists that I did not see coming. There were some links between different things happening that I did not see coming. Jody definitely makes some mistakes along the way, and that bites her in the butt in places, but I still throughout really was rooting for Jody, and I think some of the characters definitely get what's coming to them. Some of them just kind of move on, and I was okay with that as well. Do I think I love this book? No. It was a solid 3-star read for me. I think it was well done for what it was trying to do. I don't think it necessarily was a me type of book, but it definitely got me angry. It definitely got me tense, and I think that's what it was trying to achieve. Kylie's having her me leaving for work Zooms at the moment. So if you hear noise, that's what's going on underneath the tripod. So hopefully she steers clear of actually hitting the tripod. But in any case, it was an easy read. It was a quick read. It was perfect for the gym prompt. So I'm glad that I picked it up finally off my shelf. And I received this gifted copy from Valentine Books. So thank you to them for the book. But like I said, I am going to be starting If I Have to Be Haunted next. But since that's a pretty quick read and I probably will want to stop and give you some midway thoughts at some point, I figured I would pick out one more book, hopefully something that I can read while I'm multitasking. I have a lot of really brainless stuff to get done today at work in between some meetings, so that'll give me some audiobook time. And let's go ahead and see what Libby has for me. I have The Goblin Emperor, but this is an ebook and it's not one I actually own, so I'm not even going to count this as one of my 3 book options because it's just not one I can pick up this week. I've got Black River Orchard by Chuck Wendig. This is definitely one I've been putting off. I enjoyed The Wanderers initially and then got bored with it and didn't like the religious turn it took by Chuck Wendig. So I've been kind of procrastinating reading him some more, but I did just for a weekend challenge pick up The Book of Accidents and really enjoyed that one. So I am ready to dip my toe into more from him, but this is a 22-hour audiobook. I don't know that it's the smart decision for this type of readathon. I've got The Ministry of Time, which I've really been wanting to get to. I do physically own this one. It's only 10 hours, so that's definitely a possibility. And then I have The Haters by Robin Harding, and this one also 10 hours, and it is one that I think could be very gripping and definitely hold my attention. So I'm kind of between The Ministry of Time and The Haters. And I think just for the sake of procrastination, since I've put off The Ministry of Time more times, I will go ahead and pick that one. So that will be the next book up. I'll probably wind up also starting that one today and be back later with some more thoughts. It is now 6:30 maybe on the 1st of May, and I've just gotten home from work and have a couple updates for you because I am between 50 and 60% into both of my current Procrastination Project reads. So I wanted to give you some updates before I settle in for the evening. I started first with If I Have to Be Haunted. This was the book that I kind of put on audio this morning to do a little crochet and drink my coffee before I had to leave for work. And then when I had to run some errands on my lunch break, listen to the audio then, and a little bit while I was doing some mindless stuff at work. Work was not very cooperative with reading today because I had a lot of meetings that I actually had to semi-listen to, but I was able to make it to part of the kickoff sprints for Escape the Readathon that Lexie did and was able to get some reading in here and there. So this one starts out very YA, almost contemporary feeling, apart from the fact that our main character Cara can see ghosts, and she has been kind of taught in her ghost talking ways by her grandmother, who she never met alive. Her grandmother is at her house, not living actually, at her house, but she's a ghost. She's been a ghost. She and Cara's mom did not get along. They were not speaking at the time the grandmother died, but the grandmother's there trying to encourage Cara in her ghost talking, seeing abilities. Cara's mom, who used to kind of be able to see ghosts and really thought it was something to put away. It's something that if you see ghosts, you're going to get locked up in an insane asylum. And these are some of the fears her mother is expressing and wanting her to kind of repress this ability. In school, there's a popular boy named Zach. There's a really loud fly in here, so if you hear buzzing, that's what it is. I can't quite tell where it is, but it's kind of circling. So hopefully it goes away. The boy named Zach has some run-ins with Cara and her friends. He's Mr. Popular. He's good looking, but abrasive. And obviously these two are destined for some sort of relationship. Well, she finds his ghost. That seems to imply that he's dead. But quickly they find out from her grandmother that there is the possibility of resurrecting him, and they kind of have to go on this quest to figure this out. And he's a ghost. He's following her around. She still doesn't like him, but at the same time, she's starting to warm to him in some ways. And there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on in here. There's definitely conversations about racism, about what her mother has gone through in particular, because she has a very strong accent and has people trying to take advantage of her. We see the different kind of cultural elements, the Chinese cultural elements between the grandmother's beliefs, the mother's beliefs, and what our main character is kind of seeing as part of her everyday life. I think the world is interesting. This take on being able to see ghosts and avoid them or talk to them or help them is really interesting. I like that dynamic of it. This whole quest type of situation where they are going in search of something that could potentially save Zach, I'm finding that interesting as well. I started to get a little distracted as they were kind of getting involved in this. There were a few elements to the quest itself that's distracting for the characters. And that's when I decided I needed to put this one on pause. I think I was like at 52% anyway, but I decided I wanted to have a better focus as they're kind of going through, not quite trials, but almost that kind of feeling to it of things they have to get through to potentially find answers and solutions and so forth. So far this is a fun read. It's really quick. Obviously I got through the first half very fast today. I think I was already at 20% by the time I left for work even, and I don't have that much time to sit and read in the morning. So it does go quite quickly. So I'm looking forward to continuing on with this. And then I started the Ministry of Time while I was driving to work because I wanted to kind of get absorbed into this world before I decided if it was a multitasking book or not. Something I could do at work when I had some of my truly mindless tasks to do, which I did a little bit of that today. I definitely have more to get to tomorrow because I didn't get very far into that today, which is also why I didn't get very far into the book until I was making my commute home. This one is set in a near future where mankind has figured out time travel, but they're trying to see how they can go about time travel without destroying the past and rewriting history. And also, is it even safe for a person to time travel? So I think it's an interesting take on time travel. There was kind of a conversation about time travel being this impossible thing to understand and we're just not going to think about it type of thing. Like they're not going into how time travel was discovered and invented and how it's done or how to answer all the questions that tend to come up in a time travel book that boggle the mind. They're just kind of moving on with this concept that they have this ability. And what they've decided to do is to go back in time and bring people from the past who we know were about to die and bring them into the present. And what that does is it shouldn't mess up history because these people weren't going to be around anyway. We know that they died shortly after whatever happened to them, and this shouldn't rewrite history, and it allows them to kind of see how the time travel impacts the human body, the mind, everything else. With this, we are following primarily this woman who is a civil servant in this world. She has some history of working with people who are refugees and people displaced from everything they know, and this is something that people from the past are going to kind of be in this similar position, obviously in a very different way, but she's tasked to be a bridge, someone who will take one of these people from the past and be their buffer in this new world. And these people from the past are known by the year they came forward, so her assignment is 1847, but really his name is Graham, and he was part of an Arctic expedition, and from the historical record they know that he died, and people go back, grab him, bring him to the present. Her job involves teaching him things like what electricity is and what an airplane is, all these different things, but also getting into deeper conversations about racism and how the world has changed on that front, or maybe hasn't, but things in terms of terminology have. And she's basically there with him practically 24/7 to be his bridge to the world. And I don't even know if we get her name. It's not in the synopsis, and at the moment it's escaping me if we've actually heard called by her name. I would have thought we had, but I don't know. The story just is really interesting concept-wise. It's definitely very literary, I would say, and a little on the slow side. I was kind of losing focus here or there, and I kind of had to put it on pause and go back to it when I could kind of get myself sunk back into this world. But I am liking it in general. I think it has so many interesting conversations conversations and ideas going on in it. So I will be looking forward to finishing this one up as well. And I'm glad I picked it up. I think I'm very curious what direction this is going to wind up going in. In some ways it's interesting because if I have to be haunted, we have this Chinese American family. In this one, the main character is of Cambodian descent, and there are some very similar conversations about having parents who are from a different place and how that impacts things. The author herself is British Cambodian, and I think some of those discussions in here are really interesting as well. And I just found it interesting how it kind of mirrored a few things from this very different book of a YA fantasy with this kind of sci-fi. I also found it interesting. It says it is a hilarious romp through time, space, and the human heart, which, remains to be seen, but it's an exhilarating new voice in contemporary fiction, which is interesting. I'm not saying she doesn't have a great voice, because she does. I think I'm really liking her writing, but I wouldn't have thought of this as being contemporary fiction, being that it's set in a near future and it's definitely more sci-fi with time travel and stuff. I don't know. That just jumped out at me as I was about to film this clip. So anyway, my goal for tonight is, I think, to sit for a while, hopefully at least finish one of these books. That would be my ideal. I would like to be able to maybe submit one before I go to bed tonight, just because I'm not sure what my workday looks like tomorrow and how much reading time I'll get in. And it would be nice to get at least one, if not two books in before we unlock this room, which who knows when that'll be exactly, but that's the objective for tonight. Which one I'm going to pick up, I'm not positive. I might go with Ministry of Time, just because this one I think I'm close to 60%, and I feel like I really want to focus on this one even better than I have been up till now, because I think it's one I should be liking a little bit more than I already am, because I am really enjoying it. But from that's what I'm thinking. But we'll see by the time I get myself a glass of water and some dinner and all the other stuff I need to coordinate before I actually have time to sit down. My decision may have changed like 5 different times. So we'll see. I'll either give you an update later tonight or first thing in the morning. It is now about 9:45 and I am definitely getting sleepy, but I did manage to finish up The Ministry of Time by Kelly and Bradley. And the second half of this one was definitely very engaging. I was hooked. I didn't want to put it down. And I have a feeling if I had been locked in a little bit better at the beginning, I probably would have felt a little bit more of that. But I do think it does still have a slow buildup and a setup and everything to get you to that point. There's a lot that the character from the past needs to learn about the present day. And it makes sense that that all kind of has to happen. And I did appreciate those discussions, even as they weren't quite as gripping as the latter half of this book, which gets much more action-packed, much more twisty and turny with reveals about what's going on in this world. There is some violence, there's some danger. We know from the little blurb on the back of the book, a boy meets a girl, the past meets the future, a finger meets a trigger, the beginning meets the end. And all of that comes to be through the course of the book. And you do get answers and you do get complications to the relationships in here. It took me quite a while to warm up to the romance going on in here, and it still wasn't my favorite part of the story, but I was invested by the end to figure out how it was going to wrap up. It wasn't necessarily your typical third act breakup, but I think it kind of still fits in that vein. So overall, I think I'm giving this 4 stars. I probably need to think on it a little bit longer because I did struggle a little bit in that early to mid book, kind of that 20 to 50% part of the book. But once it really got my attention at the end, I switched over to reading this physically, and that may have helped a little bit as well. We are getting 2 different kind of storylines in here. We've got chapters and we've got Roman numeral sections, and they go in the same order. Like you get to the audiobook labels it like part 7 and then chapter 7. But you get some of that, which is like flashback to our main male character's backstory. So you are getting 2 POVs in here, and the back and forth wasn't 100% coming through entirely clearly for me on the audio alone without having the physical copy in front of me. So that might have also contributed. But anyway, with that, I have a little bit less than half left of my YA fantasy. And as far as we know, we're not opening up the gym currently. So I think it would be best, because I do plan to read a little bit more before bed tonight and probably in the morning as well. I think I need to pick at least one more Procrastination Project book, which hopefully, if we happen to open the gym, would lead into some of the prompts that are within the gym. We'll see. Or I can put it to a different room. All of that should work. So let's see what my Libby app has for me currently. Okay, let's see what I have on my shelf. I have The Haters by Robin Harding, and this one is a thriller. This is an author I've enjoyed in the past. It's only 10 hours, so it's a possibility. Make a noise, buddy. You got an itchy ear? I'm trying to record something here. Okay, so The Haters. And then we have Rosemary and Rue. And this is by Seanan McGuire, who is an author I really, really enjoy. So also Mira Grant. Love Mira Grant's books. Have loved Seanan McGuire's books. So this one's more backlist, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But this is one I've truly put off because I bought this hardcover purely because I was going to read it in March as one of my urban fantasy books. And I just wound up with way too many urban fantasy books to get to and put it down. I feel like this would be a quick read, even though it's 12 hours. So that's an option. And then I have Jawbone by Monica Ueda. That one is a book that I need to complete, I think, for my horror bingo challenge and possibly some other bingo challenge type things for the year. I think that could work well. And the question is, what do I want? I think I'm going to go with Rosemary and Rue because I feel like since I did pick this out specifically for a vlog and didn't get to it, that's me putting it off. And I've suspended it with Libby. I've been waiting for it for, I know this says 9 weeks, but it's been on my TBR much longer than that. It's just I bought the physical copy around 9 weeks ago. So I think that's what I'm going to do for my next read after I finish If I Have to Be Haunted. So I will be back either tomorrow morning probably or tomorrow evening to give you my final thoughts on that one, and then I will go ahead and move on to Rosemary and Rue. Happy day 2 of Escape. I have now finished up If I Have to Be Haunted, and overall I had fun with this. It definitely felt very YA in terms of the framing story. The beginning and the end are very much wrapped up in these teens and their friends and school settings and school parties, those types of things. So that I didn't love as much, but I really thought the world building, the spirit world, and all of that was really cool. And I appreciated the conversations that happened in here about race, about the family dynamics, about the struggles between generations, and all of that. So overall, this wasn't a huge win for me, but I had a good time. So I think it's landing around a 3.5. I apologize for all the background noise. You might be hearing my breakfast taquitos in the air fryer. You're definitely hearing Kylie, who decided she needed to be squeaky, but I've got like 20 minutes till I have to get to work, so needed to cram this in and let you know that I've read a whole 2 minutes of Rosemary and Rue. Kylie's now brought me 2 balls to squeak. So let's see if she can focus on these while I'm talking, and then I'll play fetch with her. So I've read the first chapter basically of Rosemary and Rue by Seanan McGuire, and this is so far interesting. Obviously it's too soon to give really any thoughts, but this is set in a world where the Fae have left changelings among the people, the human people of our world. It's urban fantasy, it's set in this world, but these kind of half fae, half human people have just learned to blend into the world. They're not really accepted by their fae ancestors, and October Day is one of these people, and she's not really interested, it sounds like, in getting connected with the fae. I'm assuming she's going to wind up somehow sucked into this world, or else it wouldn't be very fantasy based. So I get the sense so far we've got this main character, October Day, who goes by Toby. She has a fiance. She's on a stakeout, so I'm assuming a PI type character. You're getting my, I have no clue what's going on yet, thoughts here, but I'm gonna sit down with my coffee, read a little bit of this, obviously play some fetch to start off the day before I have to leave for work in like 15-20 minutes, and we'll see how it goes. With me starting a new fantasy, I will listen in the car on the way to work, but depending on how easy I feel like this is going to be for multitasking, I'm hoping maybe I can find one more procrastination book that will be good for multitasking. So let's see what Libby has for me currently. Okay, I've got Silk, which is a nonfiction. That actually might be a good option. Where the Library Hides, which is a sequel, and I need to refresh myself on the last book and where exactly we left off with that, so I'm thinking that might not be the best option. And then I have The Haters, which is a thriller, which might be really gripping to get through, but I feel like that's not really one I've been been putting off for a ton of time. I think I'm just going to go ahead and grab a nonfiction. I think that's an easy audiobook to listen to while I'm doing some relatively mindless stuff at work today. And it's one that I definitely need to get to. I do put off my nonfiction a little too much sometimes. So let's go ahead and do that. I don't really think I'll be sharing midway thoughts on it, but I'll let you know how I found it in general. And we'll get back to you once I have an update on how Rosemary and Rue's going. Okay, you've been patient. You want your ball? Race it? Go get it! She's a happy girl. Okay, TGIF. Today was long. It was super hot in my office. The commute wasn't great either direction for some reason, and normally Fridays are lighter, so don't know what to tell you there, but I do have some reading updates for you. So first off, I've decided I'm going to DNF Silk. I think this one was just a little too dry and historical for me in this particular moment. I made it a little bit past the halfway point, and I did find some of it interesting, but Kylie, you are hitting the tripod. That's not helpful. She's ready to have some attention. There's some interesting illustrations in here. I did look through it a bit, and some pretty pictures and some black and white. And I did find certain things about the insects that make silk and stuff like that interesting. I just thought it was longer than I really would have needed it to be to learn what I wanted to learn. And like I said, it's kind of dry. It's very historical. The audiobook, it's not monotone, but it's also not very engaging. So unfortunately, I'm going to go ahead and put this one down. I think it's more so for someone who is into history. If I was going back to work tomorrow, I might think about picking it back up, but honestly, I'm not going to want to listen to it while it's weekend and I'm sitting at home, and that's probably a sign I should just give up on it. So unfortunately, I am going to put this one down. I did have a gifted copy from William Morrow, so thank you for the copy, and I did have some fun with it, just in learning a few things, but ultimately not for me. And my other procrastination read, Rosemary and Rue, is thankfully going much better, and I am enjoying this one. I can tell this is an older book of Sean Maguire, and it is a series that has continued over the years, so I'd imagine they continue getting better, but I am liking this world. I'm finding it very interesting. I'm liking our main character, Toby, and having a good time. So I hadn't quite finished that opening chapter when last I updated you. So in the prologue, it's 1995, and this is where, like I mentioned, she has this fiance, she has a daughter, she is on a stakeout following this man, and things go really wrong, very wrong. She gets turned into a fish and put in a pond, and she's there for 14 years. She comes out after 14 years, and she's back in her fae form, and the world has moved on quite a lot in 14 years. So even though this is not our present, because this is an older book, it's 2009, I think? Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, it's been a long day. Math is hard. But she's trying to adapt. So she's lost, obviously, her license to be a PI, and she's working as a checkout person in a grocery store. She still has some issues, like she can't be in sunlight, or at least not bright sunlight. She doesn't want to deal with the Fae realm, but then something happens to someone that she knows, and they enlist her help, and she gets drawn in to this world to find out what's going on. And I am, like I said, liking her. I'm liking the story. I think it's very engaging. It's very easy to read quickly. I'm currently, I think, at 52% or so. So I think I will quickly finish this up tonight as my current gym read, and we will see maybe about picking one more book. We'll check in later on, see where we're at with it. But I am, I think, first going to take a shower, work on some dinner, relax a little bit, wash off the day, get into some PJs, get cozy on the couch with Kylie, and those are my main objectives. I do have the audio for this. I did read a little bit of it in print this morning before I left for work, so I might switch back to the print this evening to just kind of sit, have a warm drink maybe, and relax. So I will provide you with another update either tonight or tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, I do have a live show for Wheel of Time, which is at 12 o'clock my time. So my objective would kind of be to try to wrap up this procrastination vlog, hopefully tomorrow morning. I'm hoping maybe my team's getting close to opening a door. I have no actual idea though, so we'll see how that goes. But this is my priority for this evening, to wrap this one up, and we'll see where we go from there. It is now 6:30 in the morning, Saturday morning, and I woke up to some good news. We have unlocked our first room. The gym is open. We have new reading prompts, so I will indeed be wrapping up this little procrastination vlog here, but I do have to give you my final thoughts on Rosemary and Rue because I did finish this up last night. And overall, I really like this one. I think for a first book in the series, it has me intrigued to continue. I like our main character. I like that she's struggling in life a little bit. She's reluctantly being drawn back into this fairy world, which gives the reader, I think, a good introduction to everything because we're not getting slammed with the entire realm of the Fae all at once. We're getting it in bits and pieces. We're seeing some of her history, and I think Sean McGuire does a good job of introducing us to that history throughout plot, which is really all centered in the present, but we're getting glimpses of her past and how she's lived her life and all of this. I think that there are signs that this is a really old book. Her writing's not maybe quite as polished, I would say, as the current books I've read from her, but this is something that has me intrigued to pick up the next in the series, so I definitely will do that. The action definitely picked up in the second half. The different elements of curses and of her past as a fish and all these different things come into play and weave together really, really well. We get to meet some of the past men in her life and question her choice in men along the way. We get to see some old friends, some hurt feelings, different betrayals, and twists and turns on those types of ends as well. So this was a really good time. I'm landing at a 3.5 for this one. I think it's a first book that has a lot of promise for me to continue, so I will be looking to pick up book 2 and get that added to my list of series I really need to continue. So with that, I have kicked off Escape the Readathon with a great stack of books and generally had a good time with the majority of these. I did DNF 1, but otherwise they were all very engaging, kept me interested in reading, and are ones that I'm happy that I'm no longer putting off. I'm really pleased that the readathon and my team choices allowed me to kick off the month with a Procrastination Project vlog. I always enjoy finally getting to these and realizing I shouldn't have been procrastinating all these books and hitting deliver later so many times. Let me know in the comments below, are you participating in the readathon? How's it going for you so far? Hope you're having a ton of fun. Have you read any of these books? Or let me know what's a book you keep putting off. What's a book you're planning to get to this month maybe that you have been putting off? And if you made it this far and you don't have anything to comment, leave me a fish emoji for Rosemary and Rue. Not something I would have predicted to have been involved when I first picked up the book. If you could hit that like button below, I would surely appreciate it, and subscribe if you're interested in more of my Escape the Readathon reading, more of my procrastination vlogs, and more of my bookish content in general. But for now, I'll leave you here and see you real soon in a new video.